The world is waking up to the power of gold. National banks are racing to secure it. In 2024 alone, central banks added over 1,000 tons, the third straight year of net gold buying. Why? Because gold is real money. Unlike paper currency, gold's value doesn't disappear with inflation, reckless spending, and market crashes. Noble Gold makes it easy to add gold to your portfolio. Right now, when you make a qualified investment, you'll get a free 10-ounce gold coin. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. The world is turning to gold. Shouldn't you be looking into doing that too? It is the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. Zelensky resists U.S. peace proposal. Ukrainian president says Kiev won't recognize Russian control over Crimea. This is not good. This is bad news. It is Zelensky that is now getting in the way of a potential peace proposal. And President Trump has now reacted on Truth Social. I'm going to read the entire Truth Social post. So I think it's very important. It's breaking news while we're here on air. Ukrainian President Zelensky is boasting on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, as I showed you, that Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about here. This statement is very harmful to peace negotiations with Russia, in that Crimea was lost years ago under the auspices of Barack Hussein Obama and is not even a point of discussion. Trump is right on this. Nobody is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory, but if he wants Crimea, why didn't he fight for it 11 years ago when it was handed over to Russia without a shot being fired? The area also houses, for many years before, the Obama handover, major Russian submarine bases. It's inflammatory statements like this that Zelensky makes that makes it so difficult to settle this war. He has nothing to boast about. The situation for Ukraine is dire. He can have peace or he can fight for another 3 years before losing his whole country. I have nothing to do with Russia, but have something to do with wanting to save, on average, 5,000 Russian and Ukrainian soldiers a week who are dying for no reason whatsoever. Blessed are the peacemakers. God bless President Trump for this. You think George W. Bush would care? George W. Bush never cared about the death of innocents. He invaded Iraq and he couldn't care less. He shrugged his shoulders. The statement made by Zelensky today will do nothing but prolong the killing field, and nobody wants that. We are very close to a deal, but the man with no cards to play should now finally get it done. I look forward to being able to help Ukraine and Russia get out of this complete and total mess that would never have started if I was president. Okay, let's go through some of the facts. Crimea is not able to be retaken, period. Let's get a picture of Crimea. Crimea is on the southern tip of Ukraine. Crimea, first of all, is massive, and it's always been part of Russia. It never should have been handed over. It was ceremonially handed to Ukraine. The Crimean Peninsula is the tipping, it borders the Black Sea, and Crimea is overwhelmingly Russian ethnically. Nobody seriously disputes that Crimea wants to be in Russia. It's where Russian wine is from, for example. It's where the Russian naval fleet was and is headquartered. The insistence on fighting over Crimea is what makes this war, quite honestly, insoluble. Evil people in Washington have egged this on. People like Dan Crenshaw see Ukrainians as cannon fodder. They urge them to fight and die in a war they couldn't win because they just wanted to kill Russians. And does Zelensky actually represent the will of the Ukrainian people? We don't know. There hasn't been an election in quite some time. We want peace. We don't just want dead Russians. And for what point is this all continuing? So I will disagree with, not disagree, but I will say President Trump says that Zelensky has no cards. Zelensky does have one card to play, and it's not a good one. Do you know what Zelensky's card is? Zelensky's card is him to say, oh, President Trump, do you want to be the president that reigns over Putin taking Kiev? That's his card. Zelensky is going to emotionally and politically blackmail Donald Trump to keep this war going. That's the only card that Zelensky has to play. The only card that Zelensky has to play is to basically say, if you don't help me, Russian tanks will take over my capital, and that will be a political disgrace and a humiliation for you. His other card, of course, is to try to start a nuclear war. Have terrorists shoot up Russian cities, and he could totally do that. There's a ton of Ukrainian sleeper cells all throughout Russia that can be activated and do all sorts of terrible stuff throughout Russia. Terrible stuff. But think about this. Zelensky thinks he has the cards because he'll say, oh, you don't want to be the U.S. president that had Kiev fall the same way that Kabul fell. I want you to think about how sinister that is. Basically, Zelensky is saying, I know my country will fall if this war continues and you don't keep on giving me weapons, but you're going to be to blame and I will sacrifice my own people. That's demented stuff. Blessed are the peacemakers. And right now, Zelensky is not acting like someone who wants peace at all. And I pray for the goodness of humanity we can end this war.